Welcome back to part 2 of college football predictions heading into the 2022-23 season. Starting off with this conference, I'm going to be doing the Big 10 conference. Check out my last post for the Big 12 predictions, but here we go. Finishing last in the Big 10 West, I have the Northwestern Wildcats. I just don't think this team has what it takes to contend in the Big 10. Big 10 is one of the toughest conferences. In my opinion, it's the second best. I do have them going 3-9 though, but going 0-9 in the Big 10. So I don't expect much from Northwestern this year. I got them going 3-9. Finishing second to last in the Big 10 West, I have the Illinois Fighting Illini. Honestly, I think this team could win some more games, but at the same time, I just don't see it happening. Illinois had a crazy 9-overtime win against Penn State last year. That's probably my best memory of them. But I have them going 4-8. I have them beating Wyoming, losing at Indiana, beating Chattanooga, Virginia, losing at Wisconsin, losing to Iowa, losing to Minnesota, losing at Nebraska, losing to Michigan and Michigan State, Purdue. But they end the season on a win at Northwestern, which bumps them up to 4-8. Finishing fifth in the Big Ten West, which might come as a shock to some people, I have the Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa's defense is very solid, but they just don't have an offense. They rank in double digits in every single category for the Big Ten in offensive yards, offensive passing yards, rushing yards, and all that. The running game is pretty decent at times, but I don't see this team being as good as they were last year. I have them starting out 4-0, and they lose at home to Michigan, which could be a trap game for Michigan, but I just don't see it happening this year. They beat Illinois, they lose to Ohio State, win 2 more games, beating at Purdue, which will be their upset of the year. Then I have them going 0-3 in the last 3 games, losing to Wisconsin, at Minnesota, and Nebraska. But if this team had an offense, it would be a much better team. Finishing fourth in the Big Ten West, I have Minnesota. Minnesota is getting their running back, Ibrahim, back from last year from his injury. I expect this team to be pretty solid and get a good bowl game. I have them going 8-4. I have them starting out the season 3-0. They do lose at Michigan State, though. They could win that game if it was home, but since at Michigan State, I'm going to go with Michigan State in that. I have them being Purdue, and then they win at Illinois. They do lose at Penn State, Happy Valley, you know how that is. It's going to be a crazy game there. They beat Rutgers, lose at Nebraska. Playing in Lincoln is always pretty tough. They do win against Iowa Northwestern, but they end the season on a loss to Wisconsin at Wisconsin. They just got kind of unlucky with the scheduling because they play at tough opponents this year. But yeah, I got Minnesota going 8-4 this year. Finishing third in the Big Ten West, at Wisconsin. Wisconsin is actually the favorite to a lot of people. They do have one of the best run games and O-lines in the league, but I just don't think they'll be able to contend with the schedule. They were starting the season 3-0, playing against nobody teams, playing Illinois State, Washington State, New Mexico State. And the first road game is at the Shoe in Ohio State. I don't see them winning this game at all. The only way they would is if they were able to get that run game Michigan had last year, but I just don't see that happening. I then have them beating Illinois and then Northwestern, but then they play at Michigan State. That's going to be a battle of the run game right there. It's going to be a good game. I do have them losing at home to Purdue, though. Purdue is another team I am pretty high on. Aiden O'Connell is one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten. And then week 9 and 10 they win. Week 11 they lose at Lincoln. And then they end the season at home with the win against Minnesota. Finishing second, I got Purdue. Purdue is a good team in my opinion. If they had a little bit better of a defense, I'd have them winning the conference. But they start off week 1 hosting Penn State, but I feel like Penn State is going to be very solid this year. So I got to go Penn State in that one. They then go on a 3-game win streak, beating Indiana, Syracuse, and Florida Atlantic. But week 5, they play at Minnesota, and I'm going with Minnesota in that one. They proceed to go on another 3-game win streak, beating Maryland, Nebraska at home, and then they play at Wisconsin. I'll give them the one right there. They do host Iowa. I feel like Iowa is just going to be a trap game for them. But they end the season going 3-0, beating Illinois, Northwestern, and Indiana. Finishing first, which actually might come as a surprise to some people, I have the Nebraska Cornhuskers. This team was in so many close games last season, and it was kind of unreal how they were probably one of the worst teams last year, but at the same time kept it close with everyone. This year, I do have them getting it together, going 9-3 and winning the Big 10 West. I have them starting out the season 3-0. I do have them losing at Oklahoma, though. If it was at Nebraska, I probably would have took them. They host Indiana, which is a win. At Rutgers is a win. At Purdue, I'm going to go with Purdue in that one. Illinois and Minnesota, that's a win. At Michigan will be an L. And then Wisconsin and then Iowa will be a win for Nebraska. So I have Nebraska going 9-3 this year, surprising a lot of people. And that is my hot take for the Big Ten. Just to take a look at the final standings in the Big Ten West. Finishing 7th, I have Northwestern. They go 3-9, but they go 0-9 in the conference. Number 6, I have Illinois going 4-8, and then 1-8 in the conference. Then we got the Iowa Hawkeyes. They finished the season 7-5, so they're bowl eligible, but they will go 4-5 in the conference. Finishing 4th, I have Minnesota. They're going 8-4 and then 5-4, which is a tie with Wisconsin, but Wisconsin finishing at number 3 has a tiebreaker over Minnesota. And I have Wisconsin going 8-4 and then 5-4 in the conference as well. And then Purdue and Nebraska both finished 9-3, but due to Nebraska's better record at 7-2 in the conference and Purdue's 6-3 in the conference, Nebraska gets the 1, Purdue gets the 2. Moving on to the East, finishing last, I have the Indiana Hoosiers. 2 years ago, they were literally in contention for the Big Ten title, but last year was just such a bad year. The recruiting there has been okay, I guess, I'd say. But they play in the Big Ten East, which is a very tough schedule. I do have them starting off the season 3-0, hoping like Indiana fans will get like hyped for the season, and then they end the season on a 9-game losing streak. They play at Cincy, at Nebraska. They host Michigan. They host Maryland, which could be a win, but I don't see it. They play at Rutgers. Then they play Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State, and Purdue. So I have this team finishing 3-9 this year. Finishing 6th in the Big Ten East, I have Rutgers. They're going 4-8. Rutgers was actually a shocking team last year. They kept some games close, like Ohio State and Michigan. But all in all, I don't think Rutgers has a talent to contend in the Big Ten East this year. I do have them starting out 3-0 and then going on a 3-game losing streak. But they do beat Indiana at home. But then after that, they don't win another game, losing to Minnesota, Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, and at Maryland. So I have Rutgers going 4-8. Finishing 5th, I have Maryland. I have them going 6-6. I've been waiting for Talia Tagovailoa to break out, but he just has not been able to do it. Maryland does have one of the best receiving corps in college football, so I could see them doing a little bit better than 6-6. But at the same time, they do have a hard schedule. They will be bowl eligible this year, though. I have them starting off the season 3-0, and then the second road game will be at Michigan, which I have them losing. Then they take on Michigan State and Purdue. I have them losing both those. They do play at Indiana, but I'm going to give them the W here. They're going to beat Northwestern. I do have them losing at Wisconsin and at Penn State. And then week 11, no chance to beat OSU. And then week 12, I have them ending the season with a win against Rutgers, so they go 6-6 and bowl eligible. Finishing 4th, which is tied for 3rd in the Big Ten East, I have the Michigan State Spartans. They did lose Kenneth Walker, but they got some good depth at running back now. I have them starting off the season 7-0. But then they will do the classic daily Spartan choke, lose at Michigan, go on a 3-game win streak, but then finish the season on a loss to Penn State, which will put them down to the 4th spot in the Big Ten East. Finishing 3rd in the Big Ten East, I have the Penn State Nittany Lions. They play at Purdue, first game of the year. I do have them winning this. I have them starting out 5-0 until they lose at Michigan. If this is at Penn State, I'd honestly go with Penn State, but since it's at Michigan, you got to roll with the home team. I have them winning against Minnesota, but then they host OSU, this could be a 50-50 game. But OSU's offense is going to be too much for Penn State's defense this game. But I have them finishing out the season 4-0 with the win against Michigan State to put them at third in the Big 10 East. Finishing second in the Big 10 East, I got the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan won the Big 10 last year, as we all know, but they lost David Ojabo, Aiden Hutchinson, Daxton Hill, and I don't know if the defense is going to be as good as it was last year. The offense is also undecided because we don't know who's starting between J.J. McCarthy or Caden McNamara this year. If they do start J.J. McCarthy, I do feel like they will have a better chance at winning, but I don't know how they can bench Caden McNamara after he won a Big Ten title for them. I have them starting out the season 11-0, and it's going to come down to the game against Ohio State. I do think Ohio State will win this year, mainly because they got vengeance and they're playing at home. But I would not be shocked if Michigan were to go 12-0 or 11-1, including like a loss to Iowa, but they beat Ohio State. I am very high on this team. Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum in the backfield are just speedy. And then if they start JJ, I feel like they will have a lot better chance to win the Big Ten as if they didn't start Cade, because the defense carried last year, not Cade McNamara, and people don't understand that. Finishing first in the Big Ten East, I got the Ohio State Buckeyes. I do have them losing one game, which is at Michigan State. The only reason I feel like they will lose this game is going to be their first road game, and they're not going to be used to like the hostile environment. They did smoke them last year, which would definitely happen again, but Michigan State's secondary has improved a little bit. But I got to go with the Buckeyes winning the Big Ten East just because how good their offense got. They did lose Olave and Garrett Wilson, but they have Fleming, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, and all of them good wide receivers. They probably have one of the best wide receiver depths in the league. Trayvon Henderson's back. C.J. Stroud's second year. He's used to college football now. He's got it down. But I'm going to go with the Ohio State Buckeyes winning the Big Ten East. So just to recap, here are the final Big Ten East standings. Finishing last, number 7, Indiana. I'm going 3-9 and then 1-8 in the conference. Rutgers, 4-8 and then 1-8 in the conference as well. Maryland, 6-6, bowl eligible, and then 3-6 in the conference. Number 4, Michigan State, 10-2, 7-2 in the conference, tied with Penn State. But since Penn State won in the last week, they also went 10-2 and then 7-2, getting that third spot in the Big Ten East. I have Michigan finishing second, 11-1, tied with Ohio State. But since they lost to Ohio State head-to-head, you got to give it to Ohio State. Ohio State finishes number 1, Michigan finishes number 2. Both could make the playoffs. I guess we'll see what happens. Last but not least, we have the Big 10 Championship. Hosting the west side, we've got the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Hosting the east side, we've got the Ohio State Buckeyes. I feel like this will be a close scoring game for the first half, but in the second half, I feel like C.J. Stroud and Henderson are going to go wild. I feel like it's going to be like a 28-24 in the first half, and then Ohio State's offense completely explodes in the second half while Nebraska is not able to keep up with the Ohio State offense. So, the Ohio State Buckeyes are my Big Ten winners for next year. If you enjoyed the video, I would like to see you subscribe, maybe like, comment who you have winning, and if you disagree with me, tell me what you disagree with. I know Nebraska's kind of a hot take. That's one of my hot takes this year. But do people have any does anyone have Michigan winning? Does anyone have Penn State winning? Or is Ohio State just like a lock in the East? Also, who do you have coming out of the West? But anyway, thank you for watching, and my ACC predictions will be next.